I have argued in the pages of Reason magazine and other publications and here at Fox that there's just one party in the United States of America, the big government party.
Yes.
There's a Republican branch which likes war and assaults our civil liberties. There's a Democratic branch which likes taxes and wealth transfer and assaults our commercial liberties.
And now war and assaulting our civil liberties as well.
Surprise,
so,
surprise.
Yeah.
Do you accept that it almost doesn't matter who's in? It's the tenor or the tone that changes, but not the substance?
Yeah, you know, let me put it this way. If Peter Schiff runs as a Republican, he will be bringing back a Republican identity and a Republican past of a Yankee Republican, a Calvin Coolidge kind of Republicanism, which I think not just the Republican Party needs. I don't care about the Republican Party. I do care about political discourse. What we need are those voices, because I do think it's right that, you know, under Bush we had big government conservatism. Under Obama we have big government liberalism. It is vanishingly hard to tell the difference between these. They are both awful. What we need is an alternative set of ideas and policies which Schiff represents, which you represent, which the pages of Reason Magazine and Reason.com and Reason.tv represent. That's what we need, a true alternative to a giant oversized party.
We are chatting with Nick Gillespie, who's the editor-in-chief of Reason TV and Reason.com. Healthcare.
Yep.
We all know that this is the road to socialism. Have you seen the health care proposal that the House Republicans offered? It presumes a federal role in health care. It orders the states to change their judicial systems to affect the way medical malpractice cases are tried in the state courts. It tells private insurers you must accept people whether they have pre-existing conditions or not. It's almost socialism light. Question, to follow up what we're talking about. Is there any real difference? Or have we gotten between the parties? Or have we gotten to the point where everybody except the true libertarians and constitutionalists like you and me and most people watching and listening now think that health care is a right, not a good, and because it's a right, the government has to protect it and deliver it?
That's right. No, and you know, this is both in terms of the economic crisis as well as health care. I think what we have seen is a complete meltdown of a true Republican opposition. They had nothing to say about Bush's stimulus plan when he enacted one in 2008. They had very little to say other than a kind of Me Too-ism or a light version of Obama's stimulus. They were behind TARP. They voted for TARP. They voted for the prescription drug benefit in Medicare in the
They voted to take over to federalize education.
Yeah. This, so no, I mean, this is a problem, and I think that the Republican Party, one of the reasons why it is vanishing before our eyes, a Rasmussen poll recently or a Gallup poll had a generic Tea Party candidate ahead of the Republican.
Right.
We don't need the Republicans anymore if all they're going to offer is a kind of watered-down version of the Democrats. And that is why there is space, there is both space for a different type of political alternative, and there's a desperate need for it. The Democrats are slack in their victory. The Republicans are completely slack in their defeat.
Now, you and I would not have been having this conversation in 1980 or 1981 when Ronald Reagan had just been elected. And admittedly, he was far more libertarian as a candidate than he was as a president. But none of this stuff going on in Washington would have been happening with him in the White House. Are we doomed? I mean, if Peter Schiff wins, he and Ron Paul will be one of maybe just a half dozen human beings on Capitol Hill that believe that the Constitution means what it says.
Right. Well, you know, I like to be optimistic, especially because I think regardless of socialized medicine, we're going to live to be 100 or 200 years old. So things better get better, because otherwise we're going to be suffering for a very long time, longer than our parents did. I do think that the goal here is that we figure out ways to evacuate the political arena, not out of a sense of retreat, but because we know this is what is so frustrating about the healthcare debate. In the other 5/6 of the American economy, we have seen the way that market forces work to drive down prices, to increase productivity, to increase the quality of goods and services available, the range of things available. People say in medicine somehow that you know, these normal laws of economics, of supply and demand, of consumer wants and producer production don't apply. That's completely wrong. And what we need to be doing, the places where Americans are most frustrated are health education, and retirement. It is not a coincidence that those are the three places that the government runs riot over, over private industry.
We're chatting with Nick Gillespie, editor-in-chief of Reason TV and Reason.com. Last question. What is the relevance today of the free market, constitutionalist, libertarian views that you and I and Ron Paul and Peter Schiff have? And what can people who have those views do if the only choice is between a big government Democrat and a big government Republican?
Right. You know, they have all the options in the world. You know, the greatest one is what Camus or perhaps Bartleby the Scrivener and Herman Melville's story. They can prefer not to vote. They can opt out of voting. But I think an equally constructive point of view is to support candidates and to insist on candidates who actually offer an alternative. Somebody like a Peter Schiff, somebody like a Ron Paul. Ron Paul is wildly popular. He has never, you know, he was not a best-selling New York Times author when he was running as the LP candidate, the Libertarian Party candidate for president in 1988. His ideas are on the cusp of becoming not just popular but mainstream, because we have seen the past in the first decade of the 21st century. We have seen the past under George Bush and Barack Obama, a return to 1970s policies of LBJ and Richard Nixon and Jimmy Carter. Those didn't work then. They're not working now. People want a true market-based alternative that privileges human freedom and individual liberty.
Nick Gillespie, it's been a pleasure. Come visit us again when next you're in New York.
Certainly hope to.
Thank you. You can catch today's shows on foxnews.com/freedomwatch and on Sirius 145, XM 168, or online at foxnewstalk.com at 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. From New York, defending freedom. Until the next time, stay free, America.